Hey everyone, in today's video we are going to build a full stack AI text summarizer app from scratch using Next.js 15, TypeScript, Firebase and Gemini AI. The idea is simple: paste in any text, hit a button and get a clean summary in seconds. But under the hood, there's a lot going on: user authentication, storing data in Firestore, fetching summaries based on dynamic routes, showing a full history of everything you've summarized before. And yes, we are making it all responsive and ready for mobile phones too. We'll use the app router in Next.js 15, build clean UI with Tailwind and Shadcn UI, connect everything to Gemini for the actual summarizing, and manage users' data with Firebase. We are going to add some nice touches like Copy-to-Clipboard, deleting past summaries, toast messages, and finally we'll push the whole thing live with Vercel so that you can share your website with your family and friends. This is a full reward project. If you are trying to get better at React or Next.js, or maybe you are working on building out your portfolio, this is a solid one for you to follow along with. Everything is broken down step by step, and I want to quickly say we just hit 300 subscribers on this channel, which is insane to me. Whether you are new or you've been watching for a while, thank you for supporting. I see your comments, your DMs, all of it, and it means a lot to me. Alright, let's open the code editor and build this thing. Okay, right now I have my empty VS Code open, and the first thing I have to do is to open my terminal by pressing Ctrl J. Now after this, I'm going to start up my Next.js application by running npx create -next -app at latest. Then you say, what is your project named? Now I already have this named as AI Sum, so I'm just going to put full stop so that it will appear on this folder. Then I'll click on enter. Would I like to use TypeScript? Yes. ESLint, I don't want to use ESLint. Tailwind CSS, yes. Source folder, no. App router, of course, yes. TurboPack, yes. Import alias, no. And then it will import all these packages for me. It will install all these dependencies and then these dev dependencies. So just wait a little bit for it to be installed. Okay, now that we have everything installed, the next thing I have to do is to confirm that we have everything correctly set up. And to do that, we have to run the application by saying npm run dev, and then you click on enter. Now this is going to load up at a local host. This is going to be localhost 3000 for Next.js. So wait a little bit, and here we have it, localhost 3000. And to go to this link, you can manually type it in your browser, but for convenience you can just control click on this and then you have it. Okay, so as you can see, everything worked perfectly. So the next thing we have to do is to start creating our application or our website, and then we can create the navigation bar first. To do that, we are going to put it in a separate folder. We are going to name it component. So you can come here where you have a new folder, this icon here, you click on it to create a new folder, and you can call this components. Now inside this component, you create a new file, navbar.tsx. Now I have this extension, I'm coming, let me show you, which allows me to create boilerplates. It allows me to create boilerplates easily by just typing rofce. I will show you. Let me go to my extension tabs here. Let's see, React. Yeah, this is it. ex7 plus react/react native snippets. So it allows me to create snippets easily, so I recommend you download that for easy development. So now that we have this, I can just save this. Let me close my terminal for more space. I can save this, and then we have to add this component, because if I go back to my code here and I refresh, I'm not going to see anything. So I have to add this navigation bar, this component, to either a page or a layout. So we want this navigation bar to be consistent throughout the application, which means that we want it to still show in different pages. So we're going to add it to our layout here. You can just come here above the children, then add the nav bar, this one. Make sure you import it. Now if we save and go back to our site here, we're going to see the navigation text. Yeah, as you can see, this is the navigation text. We have it there. Alright, so let's continue building. We can go back to the navbar by control clicking on this component, and then we can add another div which is going to contain our logo. We add this div, and then you add a link from next/link, and this should take you to the home page. Since it's the logo, href take us back to the home page, and then I can add the logo. I'm just going to put the text AI Sum, which is short for AI Summarizer. Then I can save this, and if I go back, I'm going to see the AI Sum. Yeah, this is the AI Sum, and then you can give this a class name, a style. We're using Tailwind CSS, so you can make this large a little bit, text-lg and font-semi-bold. Just like this. The next thing we're going to have is a button, and we are not going to be creating this button from scratch. We're going to be using Shadcn. So let's head over to Shadcn, and then we can go to components. When you are in this place, you can click on installation so that we can install it first before adding components. And we are using Next.js, so you click on it. Now we are using npm, so you click on this one, then you can copy it, go back to your code, Ctrl+J. You can stop your development server by pressing Ctrl+C, Y, enter, and then you can add the Shadcn UI npx Shadcn at latest in it. Then you click on enter. Let me increase this. Which color will you like to use as the base color? Just click on neutral. And now, as you can see, we are using React 19, and there are some issues yet to fix in React 19 that is not allowing us to install Shadcn immediately. So I'm going to use, you can either use false or legacy PDEPs, but I'm just going to use false to add it. Shadcn is safe, don't worry. So now that we have Shadcn successfully installed, we can come back here and add our button. So they already have that as an example, so we can just copy this, go back to our code, and then you can paste it, then click on enter. So npx Shadcn at latest add button. So that is how you add different components from Shadcn. npx Shadcn at latest add then any component you want, just like that. Okay, use false again, and then this is going to create a new folder inside our component folder here. It's going to create a new folder inside here called UI, where all our components from Shadcn will be, making everything look organized. As you can see, we have this UI folder inside this component folder, and when you click it, you can see the button, which is, let me close my terminal, which is customizable. So now if you want to change anything, you can change anything you want inside here instead of writing everything from scratch. So yeah, now we can start our server again, npm run dev. Alright, so now we are going to add a div, and then the button is going to be from Shadcn UI, which is ./UI/button, this one. And then you can have sign in, just like this. And then you click on save, Ctrl S, then you go back to your browser. You should have that button, signed in. As you can see, we have this button here, sign in. We have this button, sign in. So we have to make this look nice. So we'll go back to our container div. Let's see, our container div, which is this one. And we are going to add some style here. Class name, you add a class name, and then we want to have a black background, bg-black, and then a white text-white. Then it should be flex, it should be justified between, and then item center. Can give this a padding y of 5, a padding x of 4. Then for medium screen sizes, it should have a padding x of, let's say, 8, padding x of 8. Then you Ctrl S, and let's check how it looks. As you can see, it looks very nice. Now the next thing we are going to work on is the hero section. So I don't really like this Next.js placeholder they have here, so we have to change that to have our own hero section. So to change this, we'll go to our page.csx, which is the home page. This is our home page. You can Ctrl A and you clear everything, and then FCE, you can write the home again. And now when you click Ctrl S, you are going to have the home here. Yeah, you have the home here. Now we're going to go inside our component folder, and we're going to create a new component called the hero.tsx, and then FCE to create our basic component hero. Now we are not going to see this hero because we haven't added it to any stuff here, any page or layout yet. So we'll go to this page, and then we're going to call the hero component hero, just like this, and you click on Ctrl S, you go back, and you're going to see this change from home to hero. Yeah, as you can see, from home to hero. So now we can continue working on our hero section. Ctrl click on this to go to your hero section, and now we are going to have a heading, h1, and the heading is going to say summarize smarter, not harder. It's going to say summarize smarter, not harder. Sorry, just like this. And let's see. Yeah, summarize smarter, not harder. And then we're going to have a p tag, which is going to have like a semi description or something like that. So let me just paste it. So transform lengthy text into clear, concise summaries instantly, save time, stay informed, and focus on what really matters with our AI powered summarizer. Yeah, just like that. And now we can style this. Let's start with the container div first. We'll give this a class name, a padding in the x direction of 4. Then for medium screen sizes, you have a padding in the x direction of 12, and then flex dash column, and then of course justify center item center. Then you give this a height of 85 view height, and then this should be relative. relative, and then you give this a margin in the x direction of automatic mx-auto, and then a centered text-center. Now let's save and let's check our browser. Okay, so now we have this. Let's go back to our code to style it. For our h1, we are going to give this 3 sizes, one for mobile, one for like them tablet screens, and the last one for desktop screens. So for mobile, we are going to have the text. We are going to give this a class name first. Class name text-3xl, and then for medium screen sizes, we are going to give this a text of, let's say, 70 pixels, and to give a custom size or a custom style in Tailwind, we use the square brackets. So for this, I can just say 70 pixels, and then for larger screen sizes, we are going to give this a text size of, let's say, 78 pixels, just like this. Now we are going to make this bold, so font dash bold, and then we are going to give this a max width of, let's say, 4 XL, and this should be it. Now let's save and let's see what we've got. Yeah, this looks nice. And now for the second text, which is the p tag, we're going to style it also. We're going to give this a smaller text, let's say class name text-sm, and then give it a margin top of 2. Then for medium screen sizes, it shouldn't be that small, it should be text-base, and it should be centered, text-center, and then you give this a text color of gray of, let's say, 700, and then a margin bottom of 8, and also a max width of 4 XL, just like this. Let's see what we've got. Yeah, so now the next we're going to have is a call to action button, which is going to say get started, and is going to redirect us to the summarize page. So let's go and do that. Under this, we're going to have a link from Next.js, and then we'll give this a href, go to /summarize. Let's import this from next/link, and now the next we're going to do is to use Shadcn button, import it as well from our UI/button, and then we're going to say get started. And here you have it. But as you can see, this our button is meant to be a cursor of pointer, but it's not having it. Even this our sign in button here also. So instead of adding this manually, I can go inside my UI and add a style. In here, I can just come here. Let me show you how you can make changes to your Shadcn components. I'm just going to add here cursor dash pointer, then Ctrl S, just like this, and everything, any button I create now should have a cursor of pointer. Let's see, as you can see, cursor of pointer, even this one as well. So that is how easy Shadcn is. And with this, I think we are done with our hero section. This is just to show you how to use Gemini AI and Next.js. This is not really for Tailwind CSS and to make everything look beautiful, but it's still beautiful, sure. But anyhow, let's continue. For the navigation bar, all right, I'll come to that. So for this, if I click on this, it should take me to /summarize. Okay, now as you can see, we are getting a 404 error. That is because this page haven't been created yet, and we have to create that. So to create a page in Next.js, how do we do it? Okay, we'll go into our app folder because we're using the app directory, and then we're going to create a new folder. The folder is going to be the name of the route, which is Summaries. And then inside this folder you create a new file, page.tsx, and there you go. Just like that, you have a page, but this is not yet a page because we don't have the components inside the page. I don't know if you get. So we're going to create that page, and now you have a page. You can change this to summarize page, something like this, and then you have a page. Now if you go back here and let's say we refresh, and there you go, we have a summarized page already. All right, now let's go to our code and let's start building this page. Inside this page you're going to have a div. Then inside this div you are going to have two text areas, one to impute our text and the other to show the imputed, or to show the summary rather. We're going to have two text area. I want to make this a single tag. Now this is going to have a placeholder of enter or paste your text and press generate summary, just like this. Yeah, and now let's style everything as we are coding. So from this div, let's start by styling everything. So we'll give this a kind of white, but it's not that white, so we'll say bg dash, then a custom style hash of f5 f5 f5, just like that. And then we'll make this flex a flex in the direction of column, and then justify center, items center, and then you give this a padding in the x direction of 4. Then for medium screen sizes we'll give this a padding in the x direction of 12, and then we give this a height of, let's say 85 view height. Or we can use 90 view height instead, 90 view height, just like this. Let's see what we have. Okay, so we don't really have much here. Centered. Let's see what let's continue designing. Let's just continue designing. Then for this div which houses the two text areas, we are going to have a class name. We'll give this a white background, bg-white, and then a width of full width, and a height of 70 view height, just like this. And then you can give this a small shadow. Let's just say shadow of, let's say md, and then rounded of 2xl. It should be flexed also, and give this a padding in the x direction, or a padding in all direction of 2, flex, padding in every direction of 2, just like this. Then for this text area we're going to give this a class name. This text area should have a full width, of course, and then rounded left of 2xl, a padding in all direction of 5, and then it should not be able to resize, so we'll say resize of none. Nobody should be able to resize it. And for medium screen sizes, it should have a border in the right direction, border dash arrow, border right, and then when it is focus, we don't want any outline, so we'll say focus outline outline of none, just like this, and then we can Ctrl S and let's see what we have. Yeah, now this one collected all the space because we haven't given the second text area a style. So we can just go here and copy this style from this one. We'll copy this and then we're going to paste it on this one. Ctrl S this and let's see what we've got. Yeah, so this is really nice. This is nice. And let's see, this one shouldn't be able, you shouldn't be able to type on this, so we're going to make this one disabled. That second one is just to show the summary, the summarized text. We're going to make this disabled, so we shouldn't be able to type on this. Yeah, we can't type on that, we can only type on this one. So this is nice. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a button under here. So under this div we're going to create a button using Shadcn button, and then this is going to say generate summary, and then we're going to give this a class name. You should have a margin top of, let's say, 8. So you save this and let's see what we've got. Yeah, generate summary. Now let's check if this is responsive. You know, for our hero section we made it responsive. I can show you that everything is responsive. Let me go to my Google console. And then let me use iPhone SE. As you can see, this is responsive, but let's see if this other one is responsive. Nah, it is not responsive. It is not responsive. As you can see, this one is pressed or something like that. Alright, so let's make this responsive. For that, the first we're going to do is to the second text area should not show at all, because we're going to be redirecting the user to a new page. So we can just remove that totally in mobile screen sizes. So we'll just come to our code here. In this place here, we're going to do some changes. This is not even meant to be in the left direction. We already have this in the left direction. We're going to make this to be in the right direction. A mistake from my side. And now we're going to make this hidden in mobile screen sizes, and then for medium screen sizes and above we're going to make this an inline dash flex, just like this. And let's see. Yeah, as you can see, this looks nice. So this is responsive. Okay, so now we need to be able to generate a summary, and before we can generate a summary we have to be authenticated. So when a user clicks on this button, this generate summary button, we want like a pop-up. We want something to pop up and ask the user to sign in with their Google account before they can generate a summary. So that's what we're going to work on next. And the pop-up we're going to use is from Shadcn. It's called a dialog. So let's see a dialog, this one here. So we want something like this. When we click on this, it should pop up something like this. Alright, to install this is just like I said, npx Shadcn at latest, then add, then this is the component dialog. Alright, so Ctrl J, we can close our server. Then we install, we add the dialog to our UI. Okay, now that we have added the dialog component, we are going to use it right now. So let me start my server again, npm run dev, and then I can close it by pressing Ctrl J again, and then under the button I'm going to have the dialog. So dialog, yeah, from not from Radix or Radix, from your component slash UI slash dialog. That's where you should import it from. And then inside this we are going to have our dialog content from component slash UI slash dialog. Then inside the dialog content, so I'm going to have the dialog header just like this. Inside this dialog header, we're going to have our dialog title, not from there, from component slash UI dialog. And then this dialog title, now we can just say sign in with Google. The next one we're going to have is our dialog description. So under this dialog title, we're going to have the dialog description from component slash UI slash dialog, and then you can have a simple description which is going to say please sign in to access or something like that. So let me just paste it so you can see. Yeah, please sign in to access the text summarization feature. Logging in ensures a personalized experience and saves your progress. So now we can save this, and we don't really have a trigger yet, or let's continue building first. Let's continue building. Let me create the trigger first. So I can just say open should be open, but we don't have open yet. So open is going to be a state. So I can say const open, and then set open is going to be use state. This should be false by default. It should be false by default, and then when I click on this, it should then change to true. So I can say on click, and then I can say set open to not open. Yeah, something like this. And then I'm going to pass in the on open change. On open change should be set open. As simple as this. So now I have my trigger. So let's check if it actually works. So I'll close this, and when I click on generate summary, I should see a dialog. Alright, so we're getting this error. This error is because we used a hook, and using a hook in Next.js requires you to set your component to a client component. So hooks only work in a client component, and page.tsx is a server component by default. So we have to explicitly set our component to be a client side component, and to do that we use the use client directive. Yeah, just like this. So when I Ctrl S, this should get rid of the error. Yeah, so now when I click on this, I should have a pop-up. Let's see. Yeah, it worked. So sign in with Google, please sign in to access the text, blah blah blah. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is to have the button which is actually going to sign us in. And let's see, under the dialog description, we're going to have a button. We're going to have a button which is just going to say sign in with Google, and then we can give this a class name. You can give it a class name of, let's say, margin top of 8. Yeah, something like this. So now if you want to have a Google logo, you can go online and search for Google logos that you can use, but this is just for a tutorial, so let me just show you how you can sign in with Google. Yeah, so that's nice. So the next thing is that when we click on this button, we should sign in with Google. Okay, so for this sign in with Google button to work, we need to set up our Firebase authentication. So for that, we have to go to our Firebase console. So I'll just say firebase.google.com, and then go to console. As you can see, I already have a project here already, but just to teach you how to create everything from scratch, I'm going to create a new Firebase project. So for this one, I'm going to start a new project for you guys, that is YouTube tutorials. You can call this anything you want, but just so you know, inside this project you can have many apps inside a project. I don't know if you understand what I mean. You can have different apps inside a project, because Firebase limits you to, I think, 5 projects. I can't remember, but I think it's not up to 6, that's what I know. So you can have a particular project with different apps inside. It's totally fine. So click on continue, and then enable Gemini in Firebase. No problem, just continue. Google Analytics, I don't need this one. Create project. So let's wait a little bit. Okay, so our Firebase project is ready, and we can just click on continue. Okay, so let's close this sidebar, and now you can see this build tab here. You click on it, and then you click on authentication. Get started. You can click on different provider you want, either native providers or additional. I'm just going to go with Google, so it's very simple. And then let's see. Just click on enable, and then you click on the support email, add my email, and then I can click on save. Okay, that is okay now. So I'm going to go to this settings part. I'm going to need our Firebase config, our Firebase configuration. So this settings here, I'm going to go here, click on it, and project settings. I can scroll down. Let's see, where is it? Let's see, integration. Okay, so there are no apps in my project, so I can come here and click on this symbol here, click on it so that I can create a new app. So I'm going to register the app. I'll call this AI Sum, which is the name of our app, and I'm not going to set up Firebase hosting. I'm just going to register the application. After this, we have to set up our Firebase SDK. So we have to install Firebase. So copy this, and then you go back to your code, Ctrl-J to bring out the terminal, Ctrl-C to stop the server, and then you clear everything, and you can install Firebase by running npm install Firebase. Alright, so while this thing is installing, I can go to the next step. Let's go, and then we have this code. After installing Firebase, we have to initialize Firebase, and we can start using the SDK. So I can copy this. I'll copy this. I don't know why this is taking time to install, but anyhow, let me minimize this a little bit. If I copy this, I can go to my let me close all this. I can go to my root folder and create a new folder. I'm going to call this folder config, and then inside this folder I'm going to create a file. I'm going to name this Firebase config.ts, and then I can paste the code here just like this. I'm going to get an error here soon because Firebase is not installed, but let's just continue. Now, as you can see, we don't have Firebase yet, but let's just continue. As you can see, my API key, my host domain, my project ID, all this code, we don't want to push all this to GitHub, because eventually we'll have to deploy our application and we'll need to push our application to GitHub before we can deploy. So we don't want all this to be exposed, which means that we have to carry all this information, these ones, we have to carry all this information to an environment variable. We have to convert it to in a local env file. So to do that, in our root folder, we're just going to create a new file .env.local. So let's see, .env.local, and then you make sure that this .env is in git ignore so that it doesn't push, it doesn't follow other files to GitHub. Let's see, yeah, so any .env file is not allowed to be in GitHub. So that's nice. The next we are going to do is to get the required stuff. Let me copy all of it. I'm coming. So this one is for the last app I created. So we're going to replace all of this with the exact one. So I'm coming. Alright, so we'll go to our Firebase config now, and then the API key, you're going to copy it, and then you go to your .env.local, you paste it there. Then you go to the next one, which is the auth domain, you copy it or you cut it, and then you come here, you paste it, the third one. You just do the same for everything. Alright, now that you have everything inside, we are going to go back to our Firebase, and then I'm coming. We are going to replace everything with the env file which we have defined here. So everything here, we are going to replace it with process.env, then the name, so something like this. So our API key will be process.env, then this environment variable here, next public Firebase API key. So it must start with next public, if not it's not going to work. You know, for React you have to say React app, then that, anything you want. For Next.js we are using next public. So with this you are done with your Firebase config, but what we're interested in is in authentication, so we have to configure it for authentication also. So for Firebase authentication, we are going to be using the get auth function, which we are going to get from Firebase. So to do that, we're just going to go under this application here. We're going to say let's say const auth will be equal to, let's say, get auth. Let's import that from, let me close my terminal. I'm going to import it from Firebase. Yeah, Firebase/auth, and then you pass in the application just like this, and then we have to get our provider as well. So const provider will be equal to new Google provider, new Google auth provider from Firebase/auth, and then just like this. I don't know why it's not importing, so I have to import that manually. It's not importing, so I have to import it manually. Import get auth from Firebase/auth, and then where is this one coming from? Google auth provider, from the same place. Yeah, just like that. Then the last thing I have to do is to do what? We have to export it so that we can use it in other components. So export auth and provider, just like that. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is to go to our summarize page to use this auth and this provider for us to be able to sign in using Google. So we'll go to app, then the summarize page. Here we're going to create a function. We're going to call this const sign in with Google. Sign in with Google. And then this is going to be an async function because of course we are going to be interacting with stuff. Yeah. Then inside we are going to get our sign in with Google. So we'll say await, let's say sign in with pop-up. Sign in. You can use sign in with pop-up, or you can use sign in with redirect, anyone of your choice. You can use sign in with pop-up just like this, very simple. And then what you are going to pass is just the two things which we've exported: auth from firebase/config, and then your provider which you exported, provider, just like this. And now after signing in with pop-up, you can get our result by saying const results will be equal to that. Just as simple as that. And then we can, let's just console.log the results. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Console.log results, and then the results. So now instead of just setting the open and stuff like that, I can just come here and sign in with Google, and then I can go back to this sign in with Google and perform some stuff. Or let's see, okay, I can create another function because we are not, that button is not actually meant to sign in with Google. I can create another function. I can call this one generate summary, something like this. And then for this one I'm going to check if, or we're going too far. Let me Ctrl Z. This should be left as it is. And then here, this is the button we're meant to add that function. So we'll say on click, we're going to sign in with Google, just like that. So Ctrl S, and let's see, let's go back, inspect, and then if I click on this, I should sign in with Google. I should see a pop-up. Let me refresh. Oh, I forgot to start my server back again. So npm run dev. Let's see if everything will work perfectly. Now that is one thing about my channel. I will show you everything, both my errors, my mistake, every single thing. So let's continue. Let me refresh. Okay, so if I click on generate summary, I should see that pop up. And now if I click sign in with Google, I should see another pop up. Yeah, it's going to prompt me to sign in with Google. So let's see if I'm going to get the results, and the result should include all my personal details. But let's see. Please don't mind. Okay, yeah, select an account to go to the application, and then I can click on my account, continue, and you can see this is the result. This includes all my personal details. If I go to the user tab here, you can see my access token, my display name, my email, my photo, everything concerning me. But now the thing is, this is not saved, so I cannot access this after. So what we have to do right now is to save this information inside the local storage, so that the user, once he log out or once he leaves the browser and comes back in, he will still be logged in because of the local storage that is inside the browser. I hope that is clear. So let's do that right now. So we're going to create an object. Let's go back to this function. In this function here, now we're going to get rid of this console.log, and then we can come under this result here, and then we can say const auth information. Let's just shorten it to auth info. We're going to create an object. This is going to include the user ID. The user ID is going to be the results .user .uid. As you can see, we're using TypeScript, so everything is going perfectly. And then the user email. The user email will be what? Results .user .email. Just like that. And then the name is going to be results.user .name .display name. And then we can add a custom field, which is going to be is auth, and then we're going to make this to be true, just like this. So now that we have this, we have to set our local storage to have this information. So to do that, we are going to make sure that that we are working with a client-side component. So we have to make sure that this is truly a client-side component before we can set our local storage. So we're going to say if type of window is not undefined, which means that the window exists and we are in a client-side component, is not undefined, then we can set our local storage to the authentication details. So local storage dot set item, and then we're going to name this to be auth, and json dot stringify, and then you pass in the auth info, just like this. So now let me reload and let me sign in again. So I've signed in. Let me check my local storage. As you can see, let me increase this. This is my information. It's auth, my name, my user email, and my user ID. Now I can use this local storage anytime I want by using local storage.getItem. We'll get to that. But now let's go back to our application and let's discuss the flow. So now, how are we going to generate a summary? Right now, when this button is clicked, the only function of this button right now is to bring out this dialog. Is to open this dialog, but that's not what we want. We want this button to do more than that. So this button, we're going to get rid of this. We're not going to be setting open from here, though we're going to set open if the user is not authenticated. So we need to check if the user is authenticated or not. And to do that, we have to get the user information. Now, how do we get the user information? We are going to be using local storage.getItem. I've said that before, but how do we do that? We are going to create a custom hook, because we're not going to be using the information only in this side, in this part, in this page rather. We are going to use the information in the navigation bar as well. So I just want to teach you how you can create a custom hook by yourself. So let's go that let's do that right now. In your root folder, create a new folder called hooks, and then you can create a file called this use get user info.ts, just like that. And now, like I said before, anytime you are using hooks, you have to make it to be a client-side component, because hooks provide interactivity, and interactivity deals with client-side components. So we have to make this to be a client-side component, and to do that in Next.js, we use the use client directive at the top of the file. After that, we are going to export it, because we are going to be using it in different files, so I have to export the function we have to create now. So export const what use get user info, just like this. And then we are going to create a state to set our user information. So I'm going to say const user info, comma, set user info to be equal to what use state. Import that from React. The use state, this is going to be name. We are going to accept the name, the user ID, the user email, and then its auth is going to be false by default. So its auth is going to be false. Yeah. Then after that, we are going to use a use effect so that we can get our auth our user info from our local storage. So we're going to use a use effect. So use effect, and then just like this. Now we're going to do the same thing. If type of window is not undefined, so that is when we can work with local storage, because of course we are using TypeScript. If we are not using TypeScript, if we are using JavaScript, you can do it ordinary, but we are using TypeScript. That's why you have to do this if type of window is not undefined, to be sure that we are in a client-side component. And then we can say const stored data. This is going to be equal to what local storage dot get item. We are going to get our item, and then what is the name of our item? We saved it as auth. If you remember, let me show you. You set the item, this is the name, as auth. So if you are getting it, you have to get it using that name. So get it as auth. And then we have to now check if we have gotten the data. So if there is stored data, if stored data is available, we're now going to do what? Set the user info. Set user info to json.parse, and then the stored data, just like this. Then finally we come down here and return the user info, just like that. With this we are good to go. Like, this is just everything about the custom hook. So just this simple code, you set this, we get the states, we get our authentication information, the auth user information, and then you store it inside the states, and then you return the user information, just like that. So with this, you can go back to our summarize page, and then we're going to use this information. So we'll go inside our summarize page. At the top here, you can say const, we're going to get our information from use get user info. So we're going to be using only two things. We're going to get our is auth and user email, is auth and user email. We're not going to use the user email for now, but we might use it. Let's see. So now we're going to come here and then create a new function, const generate summary will be equal to async, and then what we are going to do now is, before we can generate a summary, we have to check if the user is authenticated or not. So that was why we got this is auth and user email. So we can use that is auth variable to check if the user is authenticated or not. So if the user is not authenticated, that is auth is not authenticated, that is when we will now set that our dialog to open. So we'll say set open to be true, and then immediately we return. So after this one, we're going to do another check, which is going to check the length of the text, because we don't want to summarize something that is not even up to five words. You get? So we have to check the length of the text of the user. So to do that, I'm going to say if the user text, so we haven't gotten the text of the user, so let's get the text of the user first. We're going to be using a state. So under this is open, under this open state, we can create another state. So I can say const user text comma set user text will be equal to use state, and for now it should just be an empty string. And then we can go back here and say if that user text, of course we're going to set the user text to be whatever we get in this text area, but for now let's just work on it now. So if user text does split, so let's split everything in the user text. You split all the letters, and then if the length is less than 10, now you can change your own specification, is your choice. So but for me, I just want it to be if it is less than 10. I don't want that kind of text, so I'm going to return a toast notification. Now for this toast notification, we have to install Sonar from Shadcn. So let's go back to Shadcn here, and then we're going to use Sonar to display toast notification. So we want something like this, show toast, something like this. That's what we want. So to do that, we'll just come here, npx Shadcn at latest add Sonar. Then I can stop my server, development server. And we wait for it to install. Let's rerun our server, npm run dev. Alright, so we can close this one. Now for this toast notification to work properly, we have to go to our layout, and then we're going to add the toaster component here, toaster from Sonar, from component/ui/Sonar. Yeah, that one. Ctrl S, save it so that you won't face any errors afterwards. And then for the toast, you can just Ctrl spacebar to bring out all this, and you import it from Sonar. So just like that, you can just say toast, and then you say text is too small to summarize. As simple as this, summarize. Yeah. So yes, this is the flow. So this generates summary. Now I can copy this, copy it, and then we'll go back to this button where we have generate summary, and we'll click on and we'll paste it here. Now we haven't been able to generate the AI summary yet. That's what we're going to do in the next part. But now if you look at this, once we click this generate button, what happened? First of all, it's going to check is this user authenticated? If not, it's going to set open to true. And if it is open, that means it is this dialog that will be opened. And now when the user says you want to sign in with Google, this is the function that is going to click. And then if you control click on the function, we're going to get this, which is going to say await sign in with pop-up. Once the user signs in, it stores the user information in local storage, and now we have that in our local storage, and then it's auth returned to true. Now if we go back here again, the user will now be required to generate a summary again. Then once it clicks generate summary, it's going to check again if it is auth, if the user is auth, if it is true. And then if it is true, it's going to pass this check and go to the next check, which is to check the user text. So now we're going to be using this user text to generate summary. So now let's come here in this text area. We are going to say on change, because we have to get the user text in order for us to be able to generate a summary based on that prompt. So E, and then we can come here and say set user text, set user text to be e.target.value. Just like this, we have the user text, and we can display the user text. So let's say console.log user text will be user text, just like this. And then we'll go back to our code here. Let me refresh because we made changes to the server. Okay, so after refreshing, you are going to see this error. If you follow exactly what I did, you are going to see this error. Now this is because back in use get user info, I made a mistake. So we'll go back here. I didn't pass a dependency, so this should run only once. So you should add, don't forget to add this. If you have any other thing inside here that you want it to be dependent on, you can add it there also, but I want it to run only once, so that's why I added an empty square brackets, empty array or something like that. So if I Ctrl S, that error should be gone. Let me refresh it. And yes, it is gone. So now if I have a summary, let's say, let me generate the text that I can use. I'm coming. Now if I have this text to summarize now, let's say I have this text to summarize. So if I paste it here and click on generate summary, I should get the user text here. Yes, as you can see, I've gotten this user text. Now this is the text we need to generate a summary. We are going to use this text in our defined prompt. We are going to do that right now. Now we are going to go into Google AI Studio. So we'll say aistudio.google.com. And then I consent and accept. Now the prompt we are going to use is just simple: summarize this text, and then we can paste that text we copied from ChatGPT. When we summarize this text, and then you click on run. Now I've gotten the summary. The next thing we have to do is to click on this icon here. Click on this icon, this get code. You click on it, then you wait. We're not using Python, we are using JavaScript, TypeScript. All of them are almost the same thing. So you just click on Node.js. We are going to convert this to Next.js pattern, but for now just click on this. Then this one here, you copy it. Once you copy it, you go back to your code base here. Then in this config folder, you can create a new file. You call it AI config.ts, and then you paste the code you got from Google. And now we are not using this require stuff. We are not using it. We have to install this anyway. Yeah, we have to install this, I guess, like this. So we'll stop our terminal, and then you can say npm install, and then you paste it. Now I'm going to get rid of all this stuff here. I'm going to get rid of this. Instead, I'm going to convert this into an ES6 pattern of importing modules. So import Google generative AI from at Google. We haven't installed that yet, but let's just continue. Generative AI, just like that. Now the next thing is we need our API key, but for now let's clear out all of this. We do not need all this. We don't need all this run code. What we just need is our chat session. We just need only this chat session. Remove every other thing. We do not need it. So all this result stuff, we don't need all of them. You can clear out everything. What we just need is our chat session, and then we're going to be needing it in that other file. So we're going to export it. Export const chat session, and then just leave it like this. This is okay. And now we need our API key. We need to get our API key, and to get it, we'll go back to our Google Chrome here. You close this, and then you see get API key. Now I don't have any API key, so I can create a new API key. Now this is my key. I'll just click on copy, and now I can go to my .env of folder .file rather .env.local file, and I can come here and say next underscore public underscore Gemini or Gemini, anyone, API key, and then I can paste it. I'll save it, and I'll go back. I'll copy this one. Remember to use the next underscore public because we're using a Next.js application, like I said before. Now process.env this, and I'll paste it. This is going to be as, I'm going to typecast this to be a string to get rid of that error there. Yeah, so with this we have gotten our AI configuration. The next thing we're going to do is to use this to summarize a text. So we'll go and get our prompts. Let's go to summarize. We're going to generate a prompt before we generate a summary. Yeah, so let me get rid of this console.log here, and then I'm going to say const prompt will be equal to, then my prompt is what? Summarize this text, and then I'm going to pass in the user text, just like this. Now I'm going to use this text to get a result back. And how am I going to get a result? I'm just going to say const result. Const result is going to be equal to await, then the chat session which we exported from our configuration, this one, /config/ai config. We're going to get the chat session dot send message, and then I'm going to pass in the prompt, just like this. Now let me just console.log the results so that we can see if everything go smoothly. So console.log summarized text, and then I'll pass in the result dot response dot text, just like this. Now let's check if this will work. And okay, let me add a loading state while I'm here, while I'm still in the code base. Let me close this. Let me add a loading state. So const loading comma set loading will be equal to use states. It will be loading, it will be false by default, to be false by default, and then I'm going to set loading to true here. Maybe after I have passed all this, not only should it display a toast message, it should also return. It should not do any other thing here. So that's a mistake on my end. Now I'm going to set loading here to be true, and then after summarizing the text, I'm going to set loading to be false. And there you go. So now let's test this out. We'll go back to our code. Go back to our code here. Let me copy this stuff again. Let me refresh. Oh, I forgot to on my server again, to start my server again. So npm run dev. Okay, so now I can paste the text here and click on, while it is loading, I want it to show a text here. So I'm going to make this to be like a dynamic text. So I'm going to say loading. I'm going to use the ternary operator, loading. If it is loading, it should say generating, and then if it is not loading, it should show generate. Or let me get rid of this. So yeah, this will make your app, when using loading state like this, it will make your app look more professional. So it's always advisable to do something like this. Now I'm going to click on generate some. As you can see, generating. And yeah, of course you are going to get an error. For sure you're going to get an error. This is because you want to use a pro version where you did not pay anything. You want to use something like this, a pro version, Gemini 2.5 Pro, without paying anything. Of course you're going to get an error for sure. But me, I'm going to show you how you can use it. I don't like let people pay for anything. This is, you are learning something, so you don't really have to spend much money to learn. So I'm just going to go back. Let's go back and find another model that we can use. So let's use this 2.0 Flash. Let's see if it is going to be paid or not. So, and I can just make this disabled if it is loading, disabled if loading. Yeah, so this should be okay. And then I'm going to go back to my AI config, and then I'm going to change this model. I'm going to remove this one that want me to pay money. I'm not paying shit, bro. Okay, I'll change this to Gemini 2.0 Flash, and I'm going to click Ctrl S, and now let's see if this will work. Let me clear out the error, refresh. Oh my. Generating. And I'm seeing generative language, Google API, unexpected name format. So my guess is that I wrote the env file. So I'm meant to call it Gemini API key. It's like that's why I'm getting the error. So let's go back to our .env.local, then Gemini API key with a capital letter. So I did a mistake there. Copy this. I don't know, I'm guessing if that is the error. I don't know, but let's check. We'll fix it together. So I'm going to paste it, Ctrl S, and then let me refresh again. Then I'll copy my text again. Come on. So okay, my model, that is why I'm getting an error. I think it's the name of the model, so the name is not required. Is not okay. That's an invalid model. So to fix that, I think I'm not meant to use any space or something. Let's go back. Let me make this to be small letter, Gemini, then dash. That was how the other one was written. Dash flash, then Ctrl S. We are all learning together, so yeah, mistake is common. So I'll refresh again. But I've done a lot of refreshes. And then I'll paste in the text. I pray this one work, man. Alright, and I'll click generating, and yeah, finally now I have everything here. This is my summarized text. Now the next thing we have to do is to save this summarized text into our Firestore database, and it's very simple, very simple. We just need to go to our Firebase console, and then I'm going to click on continue to console, and then the same way we configured authentication, you are going to go into the build folder, and then you click on Firestore database, and then you click on create database, click on next. I'll just start in test mode. You can always change it to production mode. It's just to allow this, it's just to add these rules here, but I want everybody to be able to write and read for now. At least this is just a test project. If you want something more professional, you should read more about this production mode. And then I'm going to click on create, and yes, we have our Firestore database ready for us to use. So for us to be able to create a document inside this, we have to go back to our code to make some changes. Now we'll go to our Firestore config, which is this one here, and then under this export auth provider, we're going to export another thing. We're going to export const db. We're going to export our database is going to be what? Get Firestore from Firebase slash Firestore, and then you pass in the app. I don't know why it is not getting this stuff, so I'm going to import it manually. Import get Firestore from Firebase Firestore. Yeah, just like that. And now we have our DB. The next we are going to do is to go back to our Summaries page, and then we're going to use that. We're going to create a new function. We're going to call this const save summary. This is going to be an async function because we're working with a database which might take time, so that's why we have to put it in an async and await function. And then once this save summary is called, we're going to set loading to be true because it will start loading. So like I said, working with database takes time, so that is why it is in an async and await function. So while it is waiting, we have to set the loading state to be true, and then we need an ID in order to set a document inside our Firestore. And to get that ID, we can just use the date.now, because every time somebody tries to create a new summary, the date is going to be different, either by seconds or by milliseconds. So we can use that as an ID. So const ID will be equal to date.now. Then we'll convert this into a string, dot to string, just like this. And then we're going to say what? Await setDoc. Import that from Firebase /Firestore. setDoc, this is going to accept a document. Import that from Firebase /Firestore again, and then we're going to pass in our database. Import it again from config/Firebase config. Import the database, and then we're going to pass in what we want to save as our collection. So I'm going to save this collection as Summaries, and then you pass in the ID, just like this. Now this is the first parameter. The second parameter is going to contain what we want to save. What do we want to save? We want to save number one, the user text. After the user text, we also want to save the summary which Gemini AI is going to provide for us, and then we're going to save the user email, which we're going to use later on to get the particular summaries based on that user. So that's why we're getting the user email, and then we are going to get the ID. Now I'm getting an error here. Summary, this is not defined, does not exist. That is because yes, for sure they don't like summary. So we're going to get that from props. We're going to pass it as a prop. So we'll say summary. This is going to be a type of string, just like this. And now the error is gone. Then after I'm done, after setting the document, we're going to set loading back to false, because of course we are done with setting the document. And then I can change our, let me get router first. I can get router from here. I can say const router will be equal to use router. This should be from next/navigation, not from next/router. We are using the app router, so we're using next/navigation. Take note of that. So go back, and then after saving the document, we want to redirect it to the particular page. That is, we're going to work on the page after this page I'm going to put right now does not exist. We're going to work on the page after. So I'm going to say router dot push, and then /summary/ the ID, just like this. Now how are we going to call this function? We are going to call this function after generating the summary. So like this, we're going to come here and say I think await save summary. I don't know if we're going to put await or just save summary. So there's no need to put await, since we're already working await with this setDoc function. We're going to come here and just say save summary. And remember that this save summary need a prop here, which is summary, and this prop is going to just be our summary, which is this one, result.response.text, and then I'm going to paste it here, just like this. So now let's summarize let's summarize again. Let me summarize another one. Let me say generate a different one. So now I'm generating a different story to summarize, and then I can paste it, generate summary, generating, and this is the summarized text. Now let's go to our Cloud Firestore, our Cloud Firestore, and then I refresh. Let's see if we have it saved in our database. And boom, you have it. You have your summaries, which is the name of the collection, and then you have the ID. Here we have the ID, we have the summary, the user email, and the user text. This is the user text, this is the summarized text, this is the ID, and this is the user email. This is crazy. This is really crazy. So I think with this we are done with this page. Let's see. We'll be able to generate a summary and save it to our database, which is a big milestone achieved. Alright, so I think the next thing is to create this summary page, which is going to display the user text and the summarized text. Immediately we generated the summary for that particular text, we were redirected to this page, summary /1744 blah blah blah. Now if you look at this ID, if you look at this, you will notice that it's the same thing we have here, and that is because of what we did in this code. We said it should push to that particular ID which is saved here, and I did that on purpose because you can use that to get the document back from our database. So now let's work on that. As you can see, we are getting a 404 error, and we do not want that. To create a dynamic page, now this page is going to be dynamic because this ID is for sure going to change. We're not going to work with only one document. We are going to work with different documents, so that means we are going to have a changing ID. Alright, so now we'll go to this our app folder here, and then we'll create a new folder called summary. As you can see, /summary, and then we need the dynamic ID, which is this one. To create that, we are going to use another folder, but this one is going to be wrapped in square brackets to show that we want a dynamic ID rather. So I can call this text ID, and then inside this folder I'm going to create the file page.tsx, just like this, ROFCE, to create the boilerplate, and I'm going to call this summary page. Yeah, so now if you go back here, we should not see this error again. Let me refresh. And here, as you can see, we have this summary page. So now, before we start designing this page, let's actually try to see if we can get that particular summary based on this ID here. Now let's go back to our code. And we are going to be using a function. We are going to call the function get summary. So we'll say const get summary. This is going to be an async function because we'll be working with database as well. Now inside this get summary, we're going to create a document reference. So I'm going to say const docref. This is going to be equal to doc from Firebase /Firestore. I'm going to get the doc, and then we're going to pass in the DB. Make sure you import all this so that you won't get errors. And then where is our document located? It is located in the summaries collection. And then we need to pass the ID, the text ID. But now where is the text ID? The text ID is here. But how do we get it? How do we get this ID from this URL? How do we get it? We are going to be using use params from Next.js. So for that, we're going to say const. Next, we're going to extract the ID, text ID. Remember that this text ID must match with this text ID here. If not, you're going to get an error. So if you have written ID, only ID, you have to make sure here is ID. If you have written summary ID, you have to make sure here is summary ID. Just so you understand, it must match with what you have here. Alright, so text ID is equal to use params from Next as navigation. And now that we have used a hook, remember we have to add what? Use client at the top so that we won't get an error. Use client, and then we're going to pass the text ID, but now we're getting an error. That's because text ID, this is not a string, this is a string or undefined. So we're going to typecast this to be a string, just like this, as simple as that. Then next, we're going to get our document snapshot based on this document reference. So I'm going to say const doc snap will be equal to what? Await get doc. We're going to get the document from Firebase Firestore, and then we're going to pass in the document reference, just like that. Now we're just going to say what? If docsnap.exists. So if it exists, so if docsnap dot exists, if the document exists, we're just going to do what? console.log. Then I'm going to say document. Sorry, there's an error here. Yeah, document, and then I'm going to say docsnap.data. But if it does not exist, else I'm going to say console.log no such document. Then I can also give it a toast notification of no summary found. Import this from Sonar. So now, how do I call this get summary? I'm going to call it by using a use effect hook, use effect, and this should work based on the text ID, which means that it should depend on the text ID when the text ID changes. All right, so we're going to come here and say if text ID exists, then you get your summary. Yeah, so let's go back to our terminal here, and immediately, as you can see, we've gotten our document immediately. This is the ID, this is the summary, this is the user email, and this is the user text, just like that. Not too much problem, as simple as that. Now the next thing is to be able to show this data that I've gotten to our user. In order for us to show this data to the user, we need to first save this data in a state. And we can just do that by going to the top here under this text ID, and then you can say const data, and set data will be equal to use states, and then we're going to be needing the four items, which is the ID, which we are going to default to an empty string, and then the summary empty string as well, user email empty string, and the user text empty string, just like this. Now with this, we can go back to where we had that console.log. I think it's here, document.data. Then under this, we can extract all the items from docsnap.data. So we can do that by destructuring it. I'll say const open these curly braces, and then you put in the ID, the summary, the user email, and the user text, all gotten from docsnap.data. Now with this information, you can set data to be equal to an object of the ID, the summary, the user email, and the user text, just like this. With this, you have data in the state. Now the next thing to do is to show this. Since we have gotten our data now, the next thing is to show this to the user. So we'll be using the two we're going to be using the two text area we had in this summarized page. So yeah, let me see. And sorry, the left one shouldn't have a border. The left text area shouldn't have a border to the right, because that is like a division. So yeah, make sure you remove that. I didn't notice it. Okay, so we can copy this from here to, I don't know, let's just copy from here to here, and then we'll go back to our summary page and we can paste it. And then of course we're going to have some errors. Let's see. First of all, we're not going to work with any unchanged values, because in here in this page we're just going to display information. We're not going to be able, we're not changing any info or doing any stuff like that. And then you import this button from component/UI. We're not using this stuff, we're not doing this one. I think what we're going to say is like generate a new summary, something like this. Ctrl S, and let's see what we've got. Let me close this, and yeah, so okay, now we're going to be doing some additional changes. This is just the base, so let's make some changes. First off, we're going to have a div, that is a div before this div. We're going to have a div here, and this div is going to have two p tag. First thing is your text. Let me make this capital, your text, and then the second p tag is going to be your summary, like this. And now we can style this. You can give this a class name. Make sure it's hidden on mobile, because we are going to change the styling on mobile, and we don't want this to show on mobile screen. So it should be hidden on mobile, and then for medium screen sizes and above, it should be flex. It should have a display of flex, and then a padding top of 5, padding bottom of 2, and then justify between, not baseline, justify between. Items of center, should make the stuff to be centered in in the horizontal direction and a width of full. Now we are not done. Now let me continue. For medium screen sizes, you should have a padding in the x direction of 12. No, sorry. A width of full, and then should have a large text-lg, and then font of semi-bold. Just like this. Now let's see what we've got. Okay, yes, your text and then a summary. Now we'll go back to where we have this input fields. This one you shouldn't be able to text anything, so we're going to make sure we're not entering anything. We're going to remove this placeholder and then we'll disable it. So disabled. Yes. Now we have to put in the value. So to put in the value, I'm just going to come here and say default value. This should be the user text. Yeah, so default value should be the data dot user text, just like this. Ctrl S. We'll go to the next one. The next one is going to have a default value of data dot summary, just like this. Ctrl S, and then let's check. I didn't get anything. Let's see why we're not getting anything. Let's check our console. Let me refresh the page. Yeah, so as you can see, we have the text, the user text, and then the summary, just like this. Now, okay, let's say the user is working or is using this site on mobile screen. How is it going to look? We're showing only the user text. Where is the summary? So we have to work on that now, and because of we have a small space here, we're going to be using tabs, so the user can switch between the summary tab and the user text tab. Yeah, so that's what we're going to work on now. So under this, let's go back to our code. Under this div here, we're going to create a new div. We're going to create a new div, and then we're going to be using tabs from Shadcn. We haven't installed that yet, so let's close our server. npx Shadcn at latest add, is it tab or tabs? Let me check, let me be sure, don't want to waste time. Okay, add tabs. Okay, because I did it with a capital T. Let me just paste what they have here. So while it's installing, instead of writing the code from scratch, I can just copy all of this code here, this tab list and stuff, and I'm going to put it, use first, I'm going to put it inside here. Now we don't have that, we don't have all these components, but it's installing, so I can import it already, even though we have not installed it yet. So let's wait for it to install. And yeah, we have it installed now, no errors. So I can start my server back, npm run dev. Alright, so let's go back, let's continue. Now this tab, we are going to style this div first. We'll give this a class name, give it a white background, bg-white, and then a full width. They give it a height of 70 view height, a small shadow or a medium shadow, shadow of MD, shadow-MD, and then rounded 2XL. And then for medium screen sizes and above, we are going to make this hidden because we have the other components. We have this component here. For this one, this component we have, you make it hidden or what? Yeah, we're meant to make this hidden, this text area stuff. We're going to come here and say for mobile screen hidden, and then for medium screen and above, that is when it should be flexed. So make sure you correct that. So while this is hidden on mobile screen, this one will be showing on mobile screen, and then for medium screen sizes and above, this one will be hidden while this one will be flexed. That means it to show. So yeah, that's nice. Let's continue designing. Now for these tabs, the default value is going to be summary. We'll change it from account to summary, and then the class name, we're going to be removing it. We don't need it. Or you can just, let's just give this, summary. You can just give this a full height. Let's just say h-full, just like this. Now the next one is the tab list. The tab list, you can just give this a class name, rounded of none, and a background of white, rounded of none, and a background bg of white. So let's just see what we have done so far. Now I will change this value to summary because I made this default stuff here, summary, and then the tabs content value should be summary so that it will be able to work. Yes, so let's check. I don't know, for some reason my fast refresh is not working. Let me reload. Alright, so as you can see, we have these tabs here. I don't know, let me increase this so that you can see it. Yeah, we have this this tab here, account, and then password. So this is how we are going to work on this for mobile. So now let's go back to our code and continue writing code. Now for the summary, this name is not going to be accounts. We're going to name this to summary. And then for this password, we're not going to be using password. The other field we need is your text. So we can say your text, and then we can come here and write your text, something like this. And now for this tab content, we have the value to be summary. That's okay. And then we can give this a class name, a padding in all direction of 3. Now inside, we are not going to be using this. We are going to go back to where we have our summary text area. So we'll copy this, and you come here and paste it. Now let me check if I have any. Okay, so we are going to be removing some things like this padding, the padding in all direction of 5, and this rounded. We are going to remove this. We are going to give this a full height, resize none, of course, focus outline none. So I'm going to remove this MD stuff because it's going to be, and this hidden stuff because we're already controlling that at the top here. So I can save, and let's see. We don't have the text. I don't know why this fast refresh is not working. Let me refresh again. Alright, you can see this summary here, it appeared immediately. So now for the text on, we are going to get that as well. So let's go to our code here. Then for this one, we'll copy it or you can just copy this one and change the default value. So yeah, just copy this one. Since we've already done this one to be fit for mobile, you can just copy it, and then you remove this change your password here, we paste it, and then this value should be your dash text. It should match with this value. It should match with the value in the tabs trigger component. If not, it's not going to work. Now instead of data.summary, we're going to say data.user text, just like this. And now if I save and go back, I should have your text here. It is here. We have your text and we have summary. And if you look at this one, is looking nice, but this one is like it is struggling to enter this page. So we're going to give this a padding in the tab content, give this a class name, padding in all direction of 3. And yeah, this looks really nice. And for the button, let's see. For the button, let me close this. For this button, we're going to make this a link which is going to take us back to our summarize page. So I'm going to create a Next.js link component, import it from next/link, and then I'm going to put the href. Href is going to be equal to /summarize, and then I'm going to pack this button, take it inside here, just like that. So Ctrl S, let me copy this ID. Alright, so when I click generate a new summary, I should be taken back to the summarize page. Yeah, summarized page. I've been taken back to the summarized page, and from here I can generate a new summary. Now just a quick observation. We are logged in, but this navigation bar is still showing sign in, which doesn't make sense. So let's go back and fix this navigation bar so that it can change to something else when we are logged in. Alright, back in our code, we'll go to the component folder here, and in our navigation bar, oh, we haven't done anything in this place. We can't even sign in using this button. So if I click on this button here, it is actually useless. Nothing works. So let's go to our summarize page and copy that sign in with Google function. Let's see, sign in with Google function. We'll copy this, and then we'll go to our navigation bar and we paste it here. Now we're going to get some errors because we have to import stuff. You import this from Firebase /auth, you import this from our config, import this from our config as well. Now after signing in, since we're signing in from the navigation bar, we are going to add some few additions. First off, it should reload the window, since now we are working with 2 things, not just one. So window.location dot reload. Just like this, we can reload the window, and then we're going to show a toast notification, toast, and then I'm going to say signed in successfully. Let's import this from Sonar. Yeah, just like that. And then we can go into this button here and say on click sign in with Google, just like this. So now when we go to this place, we should just see a pop-up because we're already signed in, but we should see a pop-up still. Oh, so we're getting an error now that event handlers cannot be passed into a client, blah blah blah. Alright, so that's because we have started using some client side. We're using interactivity, so you have to convert this navigation bar to a client-side component by using the use client directive at the top. So Ctrl S, and let's go back. Yeah, this was what I just fixed now. So we can, let me close and refresh totally. Alright, so if I click on this now, I should get that pop-up. Yeah, so I already signed in, so there's no need actually signing in again, so I'll cancel that. Now, since we're signed in, we have to display a logout button and then some other navigation links. So to do that, remember we already have a custom hook that we created, so I'll come here and get that is auth variable from our custom use get user info hook. So yeah, so with this now I can come to my UI here, and then I can say, I can wrap this in curly braces. That is how you add JavaScript code or TypeScript code in JSX. Is auth. So am I authenticated? If I'm authenticated, I should show a different component. Else, that's when I can show my signed in with Google button also. Don't know why am I getting an error. Okay. Yeah, so am I authenticated? If yes, show this. So let me just show signed in. Else, if I'm not authenticated, that is when this button should show. So right now, if I Ctrl S, I should see signed in. What issue am I passing through right now? Okay, I did that by myself. So let me Ctrl S. I'm already signed in. Okay, yeah, look at it already. Before I Ctrl S, it already shows signed in. So we can go back and work on these components. Now, what we want to be in this component, we want to have 3 items, 2 nav links and 1 button. The 2 nav links is going to be summarize and a history page, and then the button is going to be a logout button. Of course, if you can sign in, you should be able to log out. All right, so now let's create the first nav link. This is going to be summarize, which is going to take us to the summarize page. href/summarize, just like this, and then you can give this a class name of when hovered on you have it should underline. Yeah, and then you can copy this, Ctrl C, you paste it, and then we're going to have the history page, which we are going to use to show the recent summary of the user, and hover underline as well. And lastly, we're going to have the button. We're going to have the button which is going to say log out, just like this. So let's check what we've got. Yeah, but it's not looking nice. This is not looking nice, though it covers what we want, but it's not looking nice. So let's style all of this. Now I'm going to give this a class name. This div is the one which houses all these items, so that is where I'm going to apply my style. So flex items center, give it a space in the direction of 4, in the x direction of 4, and then for medium screen sizes, give it a space in the x direction of 6. Ctrl S, and now this should look better. Yeah, now if I click on this, I should be taken to the summarize page. Yeah, and if I click on this, I should be taken to the history page. Oh, we don't have that created yet. We'll come to that in a minute. So let me work on this logout functionality first. So we're going to create a new function which is going to be sign user out. It's just going to be a very simple function, very simple. How we can sign a user out is just to clear that local storage. So I can just come here and say const sign user out. This is going to be an async function. Async function, and then I can put this in a try and catch block. In the try statement, I'm going to await sign out, await sign out, and then I pass in the auth stuff from Firebase, and then I'm going to come here and say if type of window is not undefined. We've done this a lot of times, and I've mentioned the reason why we are doing that. Then local storage, we're going to clear our local storage.clear, just like this. Then after clearing the local storage, it only makes sense to refresh our window. So window.location.reload, just like this, and then we can display a toast notification, toast, and then we can say logged out successfully, just like this. And then if any error occur, we can just console.log the error, just like this. Now with this, so I'm just going to copy this function name, and then in this logout button, I'm just going to come here and say on click, you paste in the function name and Ctrl S. Now let me show you what I'm doing. If I go to inspect here and I go to my local storage, that is at application and local storage, where I have my auth variable. If I click on this logout button, yeah, you can see everything clears and my page refreshes, and now I have this sign in button back. So right now we are done with this navigation bar stuff. What we're going to work on right now is our history page, which is very nice, and I actually love this history functionality. So that's what we're going to work on next. So for this history page, we are going to create the page, and then when we get the history from our database, we'll save it in a state. So let's just start coding. In this app folder, create a new folder called history, and then create a new file, page.tsx, then of course RAFCE, name this history page, something like this. And now when we go back here, I shouldn't see that error again. Yeah, history page. Alright, now we try to get all the data based on that user email. Like, we have to get all the summaries per user. So that's what we're trying to do right now. So for that, we're going to create a function get history, and since we're working with a database, it's going to be an async function, and then we're going to have a query. So const q is equal to query, then collection. Make sure you import this query from Firebase/Firestore, import that, and then we're going to have a collection. We're going to pass in the collection from Firebase/Firestore, and then we will pass in our database. After passing the database, we are going to pass in our collection name. So our collection name is what? Summaries. And then after passing this collection, we are going to pass in our filter, which is, we will use where from Firebase/Firestore, where the user email is equal to, we are going to pass in the operation, which is equal to the user email. But we don't have that yet, so let's add it at the top here. So we can say const user email is equal to use get user info, just like this. Now we have our query. The next thing we're going to do is to get the summaries. Like we'll declare the summaries to be an empty array. So we'll say let summaries array be, which is of type of any array, should be equal to an empty array at first. And then now we are going to get our query snapshot. We'll just say const query snapshot is equal to await get docs. The first one we did was get doc. Now we're going to be using get docs because we're requesting for multiple data, not just one data by ID. So we're requesting for multiple data. Get docs, make sure you import that as well, and then we pass in the query, just like this. Now we're going to loop through the query snapshot and then add it inside our summaries array. Alright, so now I'm going to say query snapshot dot for each, and then I pass in the doc. Then I'm going to say summaries array. Now I know most of you know dot push to add each item to the array, but right now we're not going to use dot push because the push the push method adds items at the end of the array. But right now we want our summary, the history should be, the most recent one should be on top. So we're going to be using the reverse of push, of dot push, which is on shift. So we're going to be using dot on shift. So if all this JavaScript I'm writing here, this is just basic JavaScript, this for each and on shift. So if you don't really understand all what I'm saying, then to be honest, you really need to go back to JavaScript basics so that you can understand this for each and on shift. This is a normal JavaScript stuff. All right, let's continue. So on shift, then the doc dot data. So like this, I have everything in my summaries array. The next thing right now is to make sure that I save this summaries array in a state so that I can access it in the UI. So let me close my terminal for more space. All right, then here under this I can create a new state. So const summaries and set summaries will be equal to use states. Then this is going to be an array of object of you have an ID which is going to be empty by default, and summary, which is empty by default, user email, which is going to be empty by default, and then the user text, which is going to be empty by default as well. Now let's import this, import it from React, and now as you can see we're using two hooks, which means that we have to make this to be a client-side component. I've already explained that before. So to do that, you add the use client directive at the top. If not, you're going to get an error. Now we're going to use this array, this state to set summaries to be what? To be the summaries array, just like this. So now how do we get this history? So how do we call it? We are going to do it like the way we did get summary. We are going to use the use effect hook. So for this use effect, it's going to be dependent on if the user is authenticated or not, so we don't fall into another error. Is auth, but we don't have that, so we can get it from this use get user info is auth, just like that. So I'm going to come here and say if is auth, so if the user is authenticated, that is where we can get the history. If not, nothing happens. If is auth, get history, just like this. Now we can also, after setting it, you can console.log the summaries array. Let's see what we've got. Or I can say docs and then summaries array. Summaries array, just like this. Then we'll go to our history page right now. Let's inspect and let's see. We're not going to get anything. We're not going to get anything because I'm not logged in. So let me sign in. Let me quickly sign in and then I'll show you what I got. Alright, now that I'm logged in, as you can see, I've gotten my document because I'm logged in. Alright, this is the ID, and then this is what I have. I have only this one, but let me check my Firebase console if it's only one that I have to check if everything works well. Alright, as you can see, we only have one document here, so that is why we are having only one document here. In case we have two documents in our Firestore, we are going to have two here. Alright, so let's just continue building. So with this information now, I can go back to my code and start designing my history page. Okay, now for this history, we are going to start this class name, this container div here. This is going to have a padding in the x direction of 4, and for medium screen size, it's going to have a padding in the x direction of 12, and then padding y of 5. Then give it a maximum width of, let's say, 5xl, and then a margin in the x direction of auto, just like this. This is going to just give it some spacing. Let me show this well. Alright, this is going to give you some spacing, and then inside this we're going to get rid of this history page text here, and then we're going to write a heading h2, which is going to say recent summaries, and then we can style this, give this a font of semi-bold and a text of 2xl with a margin bottom of 8. So let's see what we've got. Yeah, this is nice. Let's continue building. Under this, we're going to have all our summaries. So we have to check if our summary is not, if we don't have any summary, we're going to display a message. Else, if we have a summary, we're going to display the summary. So that's just like an additional check. So we're going to say summaries dot length greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, then that means we have a summary. Then we're going to have a div. Else, we're going to have another div. Yeah, so we're going to be focusing on this one since we have a summary. This div is going to have a class name of flex, and everything should be flexed in the column direction, flex as col, and then we have a space in the y direction of 5. And then inside this div, we are going to map through all the summaries. You know, the summary is an array of objects, so we are going to map through everything. So I'm going to say summaries dot map summary, and then you return. We are going to return a div. This div is going to have a key. Going to have a key of, so not just summary, we're going to have summary and index. We can use the summary ID as a key, but I just prefer using this index. So we have the key of index, and then to have a class name, give it a medium shadow dash md, and then a padding in all direction of 5, and also we're going to make it rounded lg. Yeah, now inside this div, we're going to have a div. We're going to have another div. There's a lot of divs, but alright, I'm going to have a div, and inside this div we're going to pass in the date. But let's style this div first. Let's just keep going. I don't want to make this video too long. Alright, inside this div I'm going to make this flex, and then justify between, and margin in the bottom direction of 4. Then we're going to make this text dash gray of 500 and a small text sm. All right, now inside this p tag we're going to display the date, and remember that the id we use dates.now. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now for this id, where is it, we use this dates.now, which means that the id is our date. All right, so now we can use that id, but now if we pass in the id just like this, let's say summary dot id. If we pass in the id just like this, let's see what we have. We have a number. We have just a number. Now how do we convert this number to a text? Now we are going to do that. I mean, not to a text, rather. We have this number, we have to convert it to a date. So we can do that by using to lookout date string. And all right, let me just show you how I did that. I'm going to say new date, and then I pass in the function like this, new date, and then I'm going to convert this summary.id into a number because it is saved as a string. So I'll convert the summary.id to be a number, and then inside I'm going to go outside this new date stuff and say dot to local date string, just like this. Then I'm going to pass in just like this, and then say it should be en-us, and then I'm going to pass in the format which I want. So I want the year to be numeric, I want the year, I want the month to be long, and then I want the date to be numeric. Now this is how you can format your date using pure JavaScript. You don't need to install any library. So I always advise anybody I teach that they should try their best to work on something themselves instead of always installing new libraries and stuff like that. So now let's check. As you can see, we have this April 14, 2025. It's my birthday. Today is my birthday. I'm shooting a video on my birthday. All right, so April 14, 2025. This is the date. Now the next we are going to have is we're going to have two icons here, a copy icon and a trash icon. All right, for that we're going to create a new div under the p tag. We're going to create a new div under this p tag. Now we're going to create a div, and then we're going to pass in Lucide React was installed alongside with, I think, Shadcn, so which means we have some icons that we can use. So we have the copy icon, you can import that. So we'll have the copy icon and then the trash icon, trash from Lucide-React. All right, so let's save and check what we have. Okay, so we have the copy icon and the trash icon. Now let's style this so that it can look nice. Let's style it. So the container div which houses the copy and the trash icon will give this a class name, and you guessed it right, it should be flexed, and then items center and a space in the x direction of 4. And let's see, this should already look somehow nice. Yeah, it looks nice. Now I have to just give this copy and this trash icon some style. All right, so for this one I'm going to come here and say class name, give this a width of 5 and a height of 5. Then for the trash icon, I'm going to give this a class name as well, give it a width of 5 and a height of 5, and then I'm going to change this to a red color. So to change that, I'm going to use stroke dash red of 500. And now when I save and I go back, yeah, it looks really nice. Looks nice. All right, the next thing after this this date and this icons, under the div which houses them, I'm going to have the summary text clamped to 3 lines, which is going to link us back to the text. So let me show you how everything works. So under this div and under this div, I'm going to come here, create a new, or we don't need a div, we don't need a new div, we can just use a link directly. from next/link, and then we're going to add in we're going to add a p tag which is going to display the summary. Wow, summary. I didn't think of the name. Anyhow, summary, and then href. This is going to link us back to the summary page. So we're going to be using this template literal /summary. We're going to go to /summary, then slash the id, summary.id, just like this. Now when you go back and you check, you are going to see this. But now this is looking too plenty. I cannot have all the summarized text displayed like this. So I can clamp this to show like three ellipses. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. So now for this, I can just come here. There's this class name in Tailwind that allows me to do that easily. Line-clamp of 3. That means it should clamp at only 3 lines. So when I save and check back, you can see only 3 lines, and then you have these 3 dots, 1, 2, 3. Now when I click on this, I should be taken to the summary page. You can see /summary/ this id here, and we have our user text and then the summary. So let me go back to my history and continue building. Now when there is no text, we will show, when there is no summary, we will just show a p tag inside this div. We will just show a p tag and say no text summarized yet. Now this site is just remaining 2 things, which are rather this on copy function and a delete function. We should be able to copy this immediately, and then we should be able to delete a summary. Alright, that should be easy. Let's just go at the top here. We can just create a function. We will call this const. We're working on the copy one now. On copy, this should be an async function. Yeah, it should be an async function, and then we are going to pass in the text. The text is going to be a type of string. Yeah, so inside this thing is very simple. Just put a try and catch block, and then inside this I'm going to say await navigator.clipboard write text, and then you pass in the text just like that. It's as simple as that. Just like that, you have it. And then additionally, you can just display a toast notification, and say what summary copied to clipboard. And now we can import this from Sonar. Then if there's any error, I can just come here and say console.log the error, just like this. And then I can take this function, come to this copy icon, say on click, and then on copy, it should I'm requesting for the text, so it's the summary. So let's test this function. I have this now, so if I copy this on click, you can see summary copied to clipboard, and then let me check if I have, yeah, so as you can see, it works. So finally, we have to make this delete data function. So we'll go at the top again. Under this on copy function, we'll create a new function, const delete data. This is going to be an async function because we are going to be working with the database here. Delete data, and then we're going to pass in the text ID. This is a type of string. Text ID is a type of string. Alright, so now we're going to put in a try and catch block again. Then in the try block, we're going to create a delete reference. So const delete reference will be equal to what? Doc. Import that from Firebase /Firestore, and then we pass in our database like we always do. Database, and then the collection name, which is Summaries, and then the text ID, which is going to be a string, just like this. And then we can await delete document, so await delete doc, import that as well, delete doc, and then I pass in the delete reference, just like this. And then I'm going to reload the window, but I'm going to make sure it takes like at least 2 seconds, because deleting the data takes time. That is why we're using async and await. So I'm going to set timeout. Set timeout, and this should work after 2 seconds. So set timeout, window dot location dot reload. Now what this does is that after calling this delete data function and deleting the data, it's going to wait 2 seconds, then refresh the page to show the new UI. So after that, I'm going to say toast history deleted, or I can even put this toast before this set timeout, so that it's going to show before the set timeout, before it reloads. And if there's any error, I can as well just console.log the error. Now there are much better ways of handling errors, but this is just, I just want to make this video not to be too long. And then I can come to this trash here, and then on click delete data, and I'm going to pass in the summary ID, summary.id, Ctrl S, and then when I click on delete, I should see history deleted. Let's see, history deleted, and after 2 seconds, yeah, it's refreshing, and now I should see no text summarized yet after refreshing. Let's see. As you can see, no text summarized yet. Perfect. So right now we can log in, we can log out, we can summarize, and we can see the summary, and we can see all our histories. This is a perfect application for you to get to know Gemini AI. With this basic information, you can use this to build something very, very big. What can limit you is just your idea. Once you can have that idea, you can use this to build something marvelous. So this is just like the basic. This is a basic information, and you can also use this as well in your portfolio and all that. But don't just build this project and add it to your portfolio and you are looking for another project. No, go outside your thinking zone. And this is just a little advice though. Go outside your thinking zone, build something with this AI tool. This is something that is available to you. Check out different models, and this is free. You can use this Google AI Studio for free. Use it to build something very, very good. Alright, the next step now is to deploy this. So if you are using VS Code, it's very easy. We don't really need much stress. Just go to this icon here, source control, and then let me increase this. And then you can come here and just say already have initial commit, so I can just say project completed, and then commit. And then publish branch. So the name, I already have AI sum, so what am I going to call this? Let's say text-sum. Alright, text, or let me say AI text-sum, and then I'm going to publish my own in a public repository, because I'm going to add the link in the description so that you people can check out. Maybe you are stuck or something, you can see the code I use. Also, my email is there. I'm always reachable at all times. You can chat me up, or you can comment on the YouTube channel. Anyhow you want to reach me is fine by me. Alright, so I'm going to publish this in the public repository, and as you can see, publishing, uploading files and other stuff. As you can see, successfully published the repository to GitHub. And now we can click on this button to open it on GitHub just to see it. And let's see. Now we have all our code here on GitHub. So to deploy this application, now that it is on GitHub, we have to go to our vercel.com. If you don't have an account, you have to create an account. It's very easy to set up. Now we are going to add a new project. Add new, then click on project. Now make sure that your GitHub is connected to Vercel so that you can easily deploy your application. So as you can see, we already have this AI text summarizer 2 minutes ago. We can import this and you can leave it like this, anyone. And now don't be tempted to click deploy immediately. We have some environment variables we have to add. So we'll go back to our code here. Then in .env.local, just Ctrl A, copy everything which is here. Then you go to your browser, then you paste it there, just like this, and then you click on deploy. Alright, congratulations, you have this deployed. Now there is something you need to understand. Let me continue to dashboard. Firebase, let me just say it, Firebase do not recognize this your domain link, this link right now. So if you try to sign in, let me show you what I'm talking about. Go to console. If you try to sign in, you are going to get an error. You can see Firebase Auth unauthorized. So to fix this, we're going to copy this URL. Then we're going to go to our Firebase console, Authentication. Go to this Authentication tab, click on it. Now you go to settings, you scroll down and you see where you have authorized domain. You click on add domain and then you put in your AI text summarizer.vercel.com stuff. Then click on add. Now once you have this, everything works perfectly. So alright, thank you for watching, and if you like my videos you can subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate this. Like and subscribe, comment. If you face any issue, you just comment. I'm going to reply in lightning speed. That is a promise. Yeah, so just like and comment so that this video can reach others. Yeah, thanks for watching again.